have an incredibly talented receiver core that you pay a lot of money to. With DT, with Emmanuel Sanders, you got Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton can play. I mean, they've got a great core. And so you want to get all those guys on a football field at the same time because they're dynamic, right? The issue is that when you come out in 3 wides and you spend that kind of time and investment on the outside and you don't take care of the inside out, like you get spread. Your left tackle has more tackles in the last 3 weeks than Von Miller. He has tackled more dudes playing left tackle.
No, he's not supposed to play.
No. You're not supposed to be tackling dudes.
You're talking about holding penalties,
You're
interceptions.
talking about tackles on turnovers?
No. I'm talking about tackling defensive linemen and getting a holding call. Like, he's got more tackles than Von Miller. That's an issue. And when you start playing the 3 wides and you start getting guys outside the numbers, you start getting guys outside the, the outside starts to, you become thin inside.
Are you playing football a lot like Seattle, but you don't have Russell Wilson?
Right. Yes, you don't have Russell Wilson to make up for those mistakes. And then when I think ultimately what happens to a quarterback, and it's funny because I was talking to Kyle Shanahan about this, about foot speed and about timing of routes. You know this. When you drop back in a 5-step drop, that route times up with the drop. And when you start speeding up your feet because you know you're not going to be protected because you're going to get pressure inside, you're going to get somebody in your lap, you're going to get a left tackle who's going to be compromised. Now all of a sudden you start speeding up your feet and your routes don't time up with the quarterback's footwork.
The quarterback's ready to throw before I'm ready to come out of my break.
Right, exactly. And so one thing we've seen with Case Keenum is wildly inaccurate throws. He misses a throw on Monday night, and you saw it against the cover 2, misses a throw to DT. I mean, it's
up the rail. Right. Don't end the game.
Right, and it's going to end the game, and it's a throw that average quarterback should make. Any average quarterback should make that throw. And he threw it over his head by about 3 yards. I mean, those are the things that have happened to Denver, and Case certainly hasn't played like he played last year.
So how can it be that a guy who, I understand John Elway is more than just a quarterback, but a guy who obviously is in the Hall of Fame because of how well he played that position, has been so bad at evaluating that position?
But, because okay, I have an answer to that because people ask me this all the time. I think for Chris or for me or for John, it's probably easier to evaluate guys on the other side of the ball because that's what you watched your whole career. You're watching cornerbacks. You're watching how they play, the leverage they use, how they turn their hips. Can they run? Do they come out of breaks? Can you set them up? I'm watching defensive linemen. How does a guy counter move? What's the guy's go-to move? How does he line up? So you watch so much of that I think you're better at evaluating that side of the ball than you are your side of the ball.
But, okay, just to push back a little bit, with that said, I watch you on the broadcasts, and you teach me something about offensive line play every single time I watch you call a game. I do this show with Chris. I learn about running routes and about releases, and every time we talk about it. And when I go ahead.
Seinfeld trivia.
Exactly, Jenna Wolf and her Seinfeld trivia.
Yes,
like what you were an expert in. Exactly right. And so when I look at John Elway, you're right. Moving on from Tim Tebow after he had won a playoff game and seemed to be touched by God almost literally as far as the run they went on, that was a hard decision. Getting Peyton Manning, listen, the Texans could have gotten him. And the Texans said, nah, we don't want him. So I give John Elway credit for pulling the trigger there because he wasn't a sure thing coming off a neck surgery.
Yes.
But he also not only spent a premium pick on Brock Osweiler, after having Brock in the building, said, I want to give you $65 million. It was only the Texans once again helped him out by saying, no, we want to give you more. After scouting Paxton Lynch said, I want to trade up to be able to take you in the first round. He's now, I think, out of football. Like, so how do we make sense of that? That's the part that I think, I mean, I know they have offensive line issues. You know this way better than I do.
I will tell you just from an organizational, philosophical approach, not that they've told me this, but just being there every day and doing a radio show, the last year in the draft, the last couple of years, and I think this goes back to them getting beat down by Seattle in a Super Bowl, that Seattle beat them in the Super Bowl and beat them badly. And the whole thing was they're so much more as a football team athletic than we are. And I think they win as an organization on this run of drafting athletes, right? Football is not hard for football players. It's not. It's exceptionally hard for athletes, okay? There's a different deal there. You have got to draft football players. And they went on a 2-3 year run where they were trying to draft athletes and make them football players. That doesn't work. You have to be a football player. And I'm telling you, they had a 3-year run. Right now, one of their issues, they don't have depth because of past draft classes.
Right.
They drafted a kid that really never played corner who was an unbelievable athlete to play corner for them. They had to cut him this year. They drafted him in the 3rd round last year. Like that, those are wasted picks. They brought him back to practice squad, but those are wasted picks. And when you pick that way, you're in trouble. They've completely changed the philosophical approach to the draft. And this year, they got a bunch of football players. And those guys are playing good football for them right now, but they just lack depth as an organization.
So I never made it in the NFL.
That's right.
Coming up, have the Eagles, drafted an athlete, have the Eagles finally gotten over their Super Bowl hangover? Stick around, Stink. We want to hear what you have to say about that next on First Things First.